because of the way the city is, I wanted to have it be free for some part of it. You can just do the code up to a certain level. And then once it gets beyond that, you're going to have to do more. You're going to have to do a better project. For instance, like Art and Public Places in Boca is counted on every single square foot the building covers. Where in Lake Worth, ours it could be included as a project, or it could be included as part of this incentive program when you get above the second floor. So we're trying to, make it easy for someone to do by right development, and it be predictable, and there aren't any caveats or deviations from it.
This says hotel district. How many hotels are in this district?
Well, right now, Max, to get this, there will be a hotel. There's in addition to the Gulfstream, this is a hotel.
Yeah, that's a hotel.
This would be a hotel. This would be, and that would be.
They're all hotels.
Right.
But this is creating a canyon right down Lake Avenue. The setback doesn't seem to be more than the sidewalk.
Well, the sidewalk is this little strip here.
Yeah. So
And that setback is double the sidewalk.
I don't understand why the city needs to develop this city for hotels.
And I think you're entitled to that opinion.
Well, thank you. That was nice of you.
Yeah, I have a question. When you had this done as a kind of like what could be happening, was there any calculation of the tax base that would be generated by buildings? No.
No.
Okay.
It was just a formulaic review of what's in the LDRs currently and what could happen if you max things out.
Okay, but these would all be taxable properties.
Yes.
I mean, they'd be tax generating properties.
To the CRA, not to the city.
Not to the city.
Eventually to the city.
Eventually, go to the city.
In some fashion.
Well,
No, not really.
I mean, questions to the
Are there any local, with the incentive variance, are there any local cities or reasonable nearby cities that have been executing that type of zoning plan?
West Palm Beach has it, Boca has it, Orlando has it, Coral Gables has one, Miami-Dade County has one, Jupiter has one. We pulled examples from all over the country. Most of them get way beyond what we're allowing. West Palms actually goes to, in some cases, over 20 stories. Ours, our benefit starts at the second floor and is above that to no more than 6. And it's not across the board. We have 6 that are allowed here, hypothetically, and there are some areas that can go to 5, which is around the transportation-oriented development districts, and there are some areas that can go to 4 along Dixie Highway. And there are some that go to 3, which is a multifamily 20 and 30, and a little piece of the federal highway area right here, and on the other side on this side. And then the mixed use west out west. That's the one area that can go to 6521 10th Avenue North.
Mrs. Weber.
If I own or buy 5 25-foot lots, am I still subject to the same regulations as a 25-foot lot?
Well, if you combined into unity of title, then you would have a bigger lot. If you kept them as separate and developed them independently, each individually, you'd be regulated by the 25-foot lot regulation.
So consequently, if I own 5 in a certain area, I could perhaps do something that might be
Larger.
taller, wider.
It depends on where it would be. I mean, in some areas where you have 25-foot lots, say like in a single-family residential area, you can't build higher no matter what. That limit is 30 feet, but on a 25-foot lot, the height limit is, I think it's 24.
And on a 75-foot lot?
30. And they're gradated setbacks, so you can't build with 30 feet right on the setback line. You have to pull it in. That's the same, like for instance, on a 25-foot lot, if you want to build at the side setback, you can't build 30. You can only build 14 feet tall. And it gets, if you can pull it in, as you get it farther away from your neighbor, your wall can be taller. And we have that built in most of the cities, most of the districts.
The parking, I see 2 large parking garages there, one there and then one right.
Yes.
Uh,
And there's one internal to this one.
Okay, and you also said that some of the building, there's parking elsewhere.
Right.
Okay, what do you mean by elsewhere? I mean,
What I mean is that let's say that, and I asked the guy to make the worst case scenario. What would be the worst thing that could happen? Because, like for instance, this building, this is under the regulations, this is maxed out FAR and lot coverage wise. However, the parking hasn't been met, so the parking will either have to be somewhere else, like for instance, but we don't have it anywhere. So the likelihood of this happening is remote because the parking will either have to be over here in combination with this building or on some other location, and there wasn't anywhere to put the parking garage for that building. So effectively, it's probably going to end up, if this is the parcel in question, because it's actually an historic building, would be a smaller building like this.
And this parking is just for the development. I mean, there's no addition, there's no public parking.
We do have it in part of the bonus programs that if you provide public parking, you can actually, that's part of the incentive you can give back to the city in order to get the additional height. Under the current code right now in downtown, there isn't a mechanism to give any more parking, which we've taken, right now there's the parking you provide for a building is maxed out. You can only provide so many spaces. This was a requirement. You can't provide any extra, which is kind of what's created the problem downtown, is that no one's been able to build any extra parking besides what they actually had to have at a minimum. And so we've changed that. So if somebody wanted to build, you know, an extra level of parking as part of a project, they could do that and make it available. What West Palm did, and they've been doing this a lot longer than we have, but they had some public garages. So if somebody wanted to buy into the public parking garage, they could make an investment and then not provide the parking on their own project. And that has actually helped facilitate doing some work on some smaller lots. We don't have a parking garage. So someone's got to be the first person to build one before there ever will be any excess parking to allow something like this to happen.
Yes, sir.
What about the additional traffic that's around the road? You have a wonderful design, but what about all the traffic that's going to be?
And there might be traffic.
There's going to be traffic, but you have a building, and then the people that live in that building don't park in their own place. They park on the street. That narrows the street down. That's what's happening up here that we have over here, both on Lake and on Luzerne.
There are mechanisms to deal with that. I don't know whether the city is actually interested in investigating.
Whatever
it's called, it's basically segregated parking. You have to have a parking sticker to park on the street in front of your house. Miami Beach did that because they had a parking shortfall. Parts of West Palm are done that way. Coral Gables has a parking program similar to that.
That means it's a big issue we have to think about.
Well, and I think that's part of some of there's a global. This is only one little piece of the puzzle. We really need to do a parking study for all of downtown. We have a lot of parking, but it isn't available for the public to use. One of the things I think is sort of not conducive to the city is that we have a lot of banks downtown with lots of parking, but nobody can use it unless you're going to the bank. So on the weekend and when we have festivals, you can't park there. Well, why is that? So we tried. Jonah Leva and I have been working on trying to put together a plan that could put together a parking consortium whereby there would be a private entity done through an RFP, a request for proposal, to put together a valet parking system where those parking lots could be used in collaboration with the bank. The parking provider would provide the liability insurance to be able to use those banking parking lots after hours.
Because for experience with our fellow commissioner from the CRA board, Mr. Gutierrez, we just approved a plan in South 6th Avenue South, and the requirement it's going to sell for 56 families. It's only 3 floors, and the requirement they had to provide the parking, right? Because that was the main issue to approve this first the heights, and also because they know the tenants and the people where are going to park will be a big. It's not just a small issue; it's very big. Is our main concern.
Well, the zoning code requires if you build a new building, you provide parking somewhere, either as part of your project or you develop a secondary or auxiliary or a transitional or a temporary parking space somewhere else. You can't do any development in the city.
And by the way, we approved that plan and it's going to be built and with these requirements.
Well, it hasn't been approved. It hasn't even gone to the planning board yet.
But anyway, they're working on it.
It still has to go to the planning board and the commission. Yes, ma'am, you had your hand up.
This building doesn't really have any parking, the towers either, because we use this parking lot back here. I think it's all pink now, isn't it? That whole rectangle is where you've got a park.